A forge is the last honest place in the galaxy, because metal doesn't care about rank, politics, or reputation. It only answers to force, and on the day the durasteel block split in half, every cadet in the Iron Citadel learned what humanity really was. The scream of tearing alloy drowned out the magnetic stabilizers, a raw, animal sound that vibrated through the chamber and into bone. Heat shimmered in the air. Sparks crawled like fireflies. At the center of the arena stood a human woman no larger than the rest. No armored hide, no claws, no glowing weapon humming with reactor power. Just a pale blade buried halfway through a slab of military-grade durasteel that the Galactic Authority advertised as unbreakable. Her arms trembled, muscles pulled tight like braided cable, jaw locked, eyes focused with a predator's calm. The blade wasn't melting the metal. It was cutting it. The impossible fracture glowed white and spread in a clean line, and the crowd of alien cadets fell silent in a way that only happens when reality itself has been insulted. They had expected failure. They had expected the fragile Terran to bounce her primitive tool off the pinnacle of modern engineering and retreat in embarrassment. Instead, they were watching a rule of physics get rewritten by stubborn hands. The blade sang, not electronically, not mechanically, but with the violent vibration of matter surrendering. 72 hours earlier, the forge had sounded very different. Instructor Drogatha's voice shook the rafters as he paced in front of the material dispensers, a mountain of scar tissue and tusks wrapped in instructor plating. His species built their reputation on brute force, and he wore it like ceremonial armor. Civilization, he thundered, is written in alloy. You are here to prove you understand metal, not worship it. Build a weapon that can pierce a Class 4 shield. Fail, and the Academy will send you home as proof that evolution makes mistakes. The class surged forward, grabbing rods of neutron steel, plasma-threaded composites, glowing power cores that promised spectacle. They chased shine and complexity, assembling weapons that looked like props from heroic propaganda dramas. Only one cadet didn't move. Her name was Mira Cade, and while the others fought over advanced materials, she scanned the edges of the forge. She wasn't looking at what was offered. She was looking at what was discarded. Drogath loomed over her. Frozen, Terran? Too primitive to choose. She didn't answer immediately. Her gaze had landed on the incineration bin, the boneyard, where organic remnants from off-world hunts were tossed before disposal. She stepped past the shining racks and reached into the refuse, pulling out a curved, serrated fong the length of her forearm, yellowed and ugly, still etched with the violence of the creature it once belonged to. Laughter rolled through the chamber. Drogath barked a cruel grin. You plan to fight durasteel with bone? Mira turned the fong in her hands like a sculptor studying marble. I plan to fight assumptions, she said quietly. The others ignited their forges. Blue fire roared. Energy cells screamed. Mira never lit hers. Instead, she opened a chemistry case and began mixing resin, dense and viscous, engineered to penetrate microscopic cavities. The fong wasn't solid, it was honeycombed, a natural lattice evolved for impact distribution. The galaxy saw a fossil. She saw architecture. Carefully, patiently, she infused the resin, letting it flood the structure, harden, expand, and bond. It was surgery, not forging. Human ingenuity distilled to its simplest principle. Take what exists, understand it, and make it endure. She wasn't building a glowing sword. She was building a kinetic truth. By testing day, her weapon looked like a relic beside the others' humming marvels. The cadets mocked her openly. Drogath said nothing, but his eyes tracked her movements with growing interest. One by one, the students struck the durasteel block. Sparks burst. Energy flared. Edges chipped. The slab stood untouched. Then Mira stepped forward. No activation switch. No dramatic charge-up. She inhaled, set her stance, and brought the blade down with a single, controlled motion. The top half of the durasteel block slid free in eerie silence, hovering for a breath before crashing onto the floor with a thunderclap that echoed through the forge. There was no smoke. No explosion. Just the clean geometry of a perfect cut. Drogath approached slowly, running a claw along the surface. Smooth. Molecular bonds separated by pure concentrated pressure. A cadet whispered, "Impossible." Mira shook her head. "Density," she corrected. "Force distribution." The Fong already knew how to survive impact. "I just removed its weakness." Drogath looked at her differently then, not as a curiosity, but as a threat that could dismantle empires if pointed correctly. He turned to the class. "She did not pierce the shield," he said. Shock rippled through the room. Myra's shoulders stiffened. Then Drogath bared his tusks in a grin. "She ignored the shield and destroyed the concept behind it. That is not combat. That is extinction-level thinking." He locked the material dispensers with a command. "Tomorrow, all of you go to the boneyard. You will learn that reality does not reward shiny tools. It rewards minds that refuse limits." Mira sheathed the blade. The cadets stepped aside as she walked past, no longer laughing. They watched her the way prey watches a new predator enter the ecosystem. The lesson spread through the academy within hours. Humans were not feared because of size or armor or technology. They were feared because they looked at trash and saw weapons, looked at limits and saw invitations. Surviving a death world had wired their species to improvise or vanish, and they chose improvisation every time. As Mira exited the forge, the echoes of the cut still ringing in the air, she didn't celebrate. She simply flexed her aching hands and thought about the next problem waiting to be solved. That was the part the galaxy never understood. The victory wasn't emotional. It was procedural. Solve the obstacle. Move on. Build better. And somewhere in the observation deck above, Academy officials quietly updated their threat assessments on humanity. Not louder. Not stronger. Smarter in a way that bent environments to their will. If you want more stories about humans turning impossible odds into engineering problems, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because this galaxy is full of places that still think metal is stronger than the mind that swings it.